Welcome to ILTV's Israel Daily. I'm Emily Schrader, and coming up in today's newscast. War ramps up on the northern front with massive bombardment of Israeli cities by Hezbollah. After deadly Rafah airstrikes, IDF opens investigation into incident. Israeli ambassador to Ireland warns of trouble in the tech sector following Palestinian state recognition. At this hour, ongoing clashes are underway in Rafah. IDF tanks are reportedly operating inside the center of Rafah for the first time. Meanwhile, the army has ordered a high-level, independent military probe into the Israeli airstrike on Sunday night that targeted top Hamas operatives and inadvertently harmed sheltering Gazan civilians. More from ILTV's Steve Leibowitz.
The Israeli Army's top-tier General Staff fact-finding assessment mechanism will probe the Israeli airstrike that reportedly killed dozens of Palestinian civilians in Rafah on Sunday night. The mechanism is an independent military body responsible for investigating unusual incidents amid the war. The probe was ordered by the Military Advocate General.
מטבע הדברים, במלחמה בהיקף ובעצימות שכאלה, קורים גם אירועים קשים. חלק מהאירועים, כמו האירוע אמש ברפיח, קשים מאוד. פרטי האירוע אתמול עדיין מצויים בבדיקה, ואנו מחויבים למצותה עד תום. צה"ל מצר על כל פגיעה בבלתי מעורבים במהלך המלחמה.
The Army Advocate General insisted that the IDF investigates all alleged wartime infractions.
בשלב זה אוכל לציין כי עד כה נפתחו כ-70 חקירות מצ"ח בגין אירועים שהעלו חשד לעבירות פליליות.
Ahead of the Rafah investigation, the Army insists it took steps to reduce harm to civilians before carrying out the strike, targeting 2 senior Hamas officials, and did not think it would affect innocent Gazans. The strike apparently ignited a major fire in an area packed with displaced Gazans sheltering in tents and makeshift housing, killing an estimated 45 people. The Army said that before launching the action, the Army carried out many steps to reduce the chances of harming civilians. These included aerial surveillance, the use of precision munitions, and additional intelligence information.
Israel Bonds, the heartbeat of solidarity, the powerhouse of support. When the Hamas-Israel war hit, Israel Bonds stood tall, proving we're more than just an investment, we're a lifeline. Investing in Israel bonds isn't just a financial move, it's a declaration for resilience, strength, and a better future for Israel. Join us and let solidarity echo through generations.
As Israel continues its operation in Rafah and the international community responds, many are questioning if the latest developments will impact the military activity in the future and the hostage negotiations. Here to speak with us about this is Khaled Hassan, an Islamic terrorism researcher based in the UK. Khaled, thanks so much for joining us today. Can you share with us, to start, your take on the recent escalation with Egypt that we actually saw yesterday?
Thanks for having me, Emily. It's actually very complicated because I did warn of this. I've been warning of this for weeks, basically. What we have is essentially a community, a society in Egypt, which is, let's face it, highly anti-Semitic, a society that has been told that Israel is the ultimate enemy, that this is, eventually there will be a war between Muslims and Jews, and Muslims will have to hunt down Jews wherever they go. It's this, in a way, a prophecy that many believe now is actually materializing. So I've been warning of this for ages, and I did warn actually 3 days before it happened that it is something that Egyptian decision makers are actually really concerned about. The fact that there might be, on some occasion, an unauthorized attack. So, some soldier, Egyptian soldier just decides, you know what, I'm going to shoot at the Israeli army. Especially when they're so close, just across the border, they can see them, they can see what's happening. They're being told what's happening is basically a massacre of Palestinians. So that's what we have. It's extremely complicated, and it's even more complicated on the Sinai side.
Absolutely. I mean, what impact will the Rafah operation, especially the incident yesterday, have on this war? Do you think it could lead to a pause in fighting? And what could it mean strategically speaking for Israel?
So what it actually means, strategically speaking, for Israel is very simple. It's a matter of national security. Israel needs to secure all of its borders. Israel needs to do this through the IDF, not anyone else, not Egyptians, not Americans, not anyone else. So strategically, it's a matter of taking matters into your own hands. For Egypt, it's actually it has an adverse impact on Egypt strategically, because if Egypt loses its position as mediator between Hamas and the Israelis, then that means that Egypt loses hugely on a strategic level, especially when it comes to its regional influence. Which is one of the reasons why Egypt is not keen on completely the dismantling of Hamas or Israel taking matters into its own hands completely. But what's really, I think, is most concerning is on the Sinai side. We have more questions. As intelligence analysts, we have this concept that we believe in, which is the limitations of intelligence. We don't really know what's happening in Sinai on many fronts, or we have far more questions than answers. For instance, there is this gentleman, Ibrahim al-Arigani, who has basically been elected or put in this position of being the head of the Union of Sinai Tribes. And he recently, this was actually an organization that was formed on the 1st of May. A couple of days ago, he was receiving a Qatari delegation, which is discussing investing in Sinai, which is a very serious development. We don't have information on this. My advice to the Egyptian government is you need to come clean. You need to be transparent. You need to answer these questions. Otherwise, it's going to be a lot of speculation and also rumors against the Egyptian government suggesting that it's complicit in the tunnels. You need to provide these answers. No more, Mossad to Egyptian intelligence kind of dealings. And, in public, you don't answer questions. You need to answer questions in public.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for your analysis. We are unfortunately out of time, but Khaled, I want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Emily.
In the north, the vacated city of Kiryat Shmone was pounded by Hezbollah rocket fire. In the south, a lot was targeted by Iraqi terrorist drones. ILTV's Steve Leibowitz has a roundup.
The city of Kiryat Shmona is the pride of the Upper Galilee. The vacated city was pounded yesterday by Hezbollah rocket fire, which damaged homes and ignited several large fires in and around the city and took hours for firefighters to control. Homes took direct hits, but there were no reports of injuries. An estimated 25 rockets targeted the city, and many were intercepted by air defense. Also hit were Kfar Yuval, Beit Hillel, Malkiah, Dishon, Tzvion, and Miron. 15 firefighting crews battled blazes across the Upper Galilee, including fire crews that arrived from other parts of the country. Israeli fighter jets struck Hezbollah rocket launchers in southern Lebanon that were used in the barrage in northern Israel. IDF jets struck a number of Hezbollah targets in South Lebanon overnight. Targets included an arms warehouse in Maiz al-Jabal and buildings used for the terror group's military operations in Aita al-Shab and Chaim. In the south, the IDF downed 2 drones targeting Eilat. The attack was claimed by an Iran-backed Iraqi militia. Fighter jets and ground-based air defense systems were used to down the projectiles days after the Islamic resistance in Iraq launched drones at Israel's southernmost city.
Former Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley was in Israel to show her support for Israel in its war against Hamas. ILTV's Lida Grave-Lazi met with the leading U.S. politician as she visited Nir Oz and other communities impacted by the massacre.
Hi, Emily. I'm here in Kibbutz Nir Oz, one of the hardest hit kibbutzim on October 7th. And today, member of Knesset Dani Danon is hosting former U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, on a solidarity mission as she's here in Israel. She's touring the sites of the October 7th massacre, including the kibbutz, the Nova Music Festival site, and the police station in Sderot.
I told her the horrible torture that Hamas did, the 7th of October, murdered, killed is a light word, it's a murder, kidnapped, We had 80 kidnapped people, 30 murdered, the 7th of October. They burned the houses, about 80% of our houses look like this, need to be rebuilt. And I told her that I need her help for a ceasefire, and I need her help to bring home all the hostages and all our family members, and also Oded Lifshitz, which is my father-in-law, that he was a big peace fighter. And I also told her that the whole world needs to help to build up Gaza again, and not just give the money. All the world have to be a representative from all over the world to build it up, and this whole area should live in peace and happiness after all the hostages are back, and there will be a ceasefire in Gaza.
After touring the kibbutz, she continued to the site of the Nova Music Festival massacre, where she heard directly from one of the survivors.
Remember when this happened, I said, finish them. They need to finish Hamas. Don't stop until they finish. But also make sure that that security is intact so that it never happens again from Hamas or anybody else. And so I will always push America to do what I think is the right thing, which is you stand by your friends and you don't waver on that.
Indeed, Nikki Haley touted her great friendship with Israel and with Dani Danon, forged during their days working side by side at the United Nations.
Dani, why was it important for you to bring Nikki Haley to Israel and to the sites of the October 7th massacre?
So I invited Ambassador Haley to come right after the massacre, but she was in the middle of the campaign, and she told me once she finished the campaign she will come, and I'm very happy that she did it. She's standing with Israel, supporting us at the international arena, and what we heard today, we heard voices of moral clarity, basically telling us, finish the job. Don't listen to anyone. Do what is good for Israel. We have to do that. We have to go all the way, finish Hamas, and make sure we bring back the hostages. If there are ministers who want us to stop the war, they shouldn't stay in the government. This government must finish the job.
Regarding the United Nations and the world courts, Nikki Haley did not hold back.
And for all those countries who decided to recognize a Palestinian state, do you know what that felt like here in Israel? You just gave credit to Hamas and all that they did. For all those looking at the ICC and ICJ, right before we landed, there were strikes in Tel Aviv. Why? Because the ICC and ICJ just emboldened Hamas. They just gave them everything they needed to know. And when the friends of Israel back off, the terrorists move in.
She also slammed Iran, Russia, and China for their complicity in the October 7th massacre.
It was orchestrated by Iran. It was helped with Russian intelligence. And it was fueled by money from China. Don't deny that. China's been funding Iran the entire time. Russia's intelligence helped them know where everything was. Iran helped get them trained. So this isn't Hamas. Look at these are all murderers and accomplices.
Nikki Haley will continue her trip tomorrow, visiting the northern border and the threat by Hezbollah.
Well, much has been said about President Biden's approach to campus anti-Semitism during this war. But one of his harshest critics has, of course, been former President Donald Trump. In a meeting with donors this week, Trump was vocal about what he would do differently if re-elected in November. On Wednesday, former President Trump told a room of donors behind closed doors that if re-elected, he would not only support what he called Israel's war on terror, but would also crack down on violent anti-Israel demonstrations popping up on American campuses. Trump told the room that he would deport any international students found to be taking part in the unsanctioned protest against Israel, and added that the trend towards authoritarianism on campus, with the embrace of terror groups like Hamas, is part of a radical revolution, which he vowed to defeat. President Trump is known for his pro-Israel policies, including recognition of the Golan Heights, as well as cutting funding to UNRWA and moving the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. Since October 7th, he's continued to support Israel's right to self-defense, but also urged Israel to get the job done and finish the war. In response to inquiries about his comments, the Trump campaign stated when President Trump is back in the Oval Office, Israel will once again be protected, Iran will go back to being broke, terrorists will be hunted down, and the bloodshed will end. Following the recognition of a Palestinian state by Ireland, Spain, and Norway, Israel has recalled its ambassadors to those countries, including Israeli ambassador to Ireland, Dana Ehrlich. Now, however, Ehrlich is warning about another unintended consequence for Ireland. ILTV's William Sharon has more.
In recent years, Ireland has become a major tech hub, spurring innovation and investment. But the Irish government's decision to recognize a Palestinian state and the subsequent crisis in bilateral relations with Israel could pose a serious threat to the industry, according to now recalled Israeli ambassador to Ireland, Dana Ehrlich. At a press conference in Jerusalem, Ehrlich explained the political turmoil is sparking investor uncertainty in the IT services sector and sends the wrong message about Ireland as a tech hub.
I think it sends the wrong message about the location and the centrality of Ireland as a tech hub when there are more and more people who are concerned about moving to Ireland. I don't think that this is the message that Ireland wants to send to the world. And I think within our bilateral relations, this is not what we want to see.
Tech services account for some of $5 billion in annual trade between Ireland and Israel, while Ehrlich emphasized that many of the Irish people sympathize with Israel. The government in Ireland is what she called not an honest broker. The Israeli government has harshly condemned the recognition of a Palestinian state by Ireland, calling it a reward for terrorism.
Started a day after the start of the war, the Smiles for the Kids organization has been a beacon of light for children and families most impacted by the war.
In the midst of conflict, there are glimmers of hope. Smiles for the Kids stands as a beacon of light for the children and families affected by the Swords of Iron War in Israel. Their mission is clear: to bring joy, resilience, and a sense of normalcy to those who need it most. From therapeutic biking programs for displaced youth to art workshops and musical empowerment events, they create spaces where children can express themselves, heal, and thrive. Their carnivals and pizza parties bring moments of joy and laughter to families facing unimaginable challenges, offering them a chance to escape the hardships of displacement, even if just for a while.
We're taking the fun activities that are usually meant for regular birthday parties and we're bringing it to traumatized communities and soldiers and army families who really need it.
For the brave soldiers on the front lines, they provide barbecues and deliver Shabbat meals, showing their deep gratitude and support for the soldiers' sacrifices. The impact of their work is profound. Physical activity through biking builds resilience. Art and music offer solace and self-expression. Every smile brought to a child's face, every moment of relief offered to a family is a step towards healing.
The best part is to see the kids and the soldiers smile and just have fun.
But they can't do it alone, and they need your help to continue their mission. Your donations can make a world of difference, turning tears into smiles and despair into hope. Join Smile for Kids and brighten a child's life. Because even in the darkest times, a little joy can go a long way.
Thank you! And joining us now is Erin Schoenfeld from Smiles for the Kids. Erin, thank you so much for joining us today. Smiles for the Kids was founded on October 8th, the day after this horrific event for Israel. What gave you this idea?
Basically what happened was people started sending money from America to me saying, help someone in Israel. And everyone was just sending it, and people, sending stuff to soldiers. I made Aliyah 4 years ago. My oldest is only 15, turning 16. So I didn't know anything about the Army. I didn't know anything about really anything. And just sitting on a couple $100s in cash. And over the first 2 weeks of the war, trying to figure out what to do with it, we found so many families in our community in Modi'in had a husband that was away for 2 weeks, 3 kids that were away for 2 weeks. And people were saying they're struggling. The stress on them was high. And so we took the money, and at the same time, there was a catering company that lost all their business. and they put out that, hey, can anyone buy from us? We have deli platters. So we bought deli platters and we brought it to those families with a note that said, hey, people around the world are thinking of you. And the reaction to that was priceless, and they shared it, and it just kind of kept growing from there. And seeing them smile, and that little, we always say for that like 2 minutes where they don't think about anything, you get so much joy. So we just decided to keep going as much as we can.
Now, there are thousands of children, families, but children specifically who are displaced from this war in the north and also the south. How many kids are you working with so far? How many families have you been working with?
A lot. It's really, it's hard to count. I mean, we've given out probably between candy bags and candy platters for kids and family, 40,000 dinners, chalot for Shabbat, and we've probably touched, somewhere between 75 and 100,000 just people for getting the chayalim, and it's just, there are a lot of them that are also, I don't want to call them repeat customers, but when you kind of adopt these communities and as you work with them, you learn their needs. So it's been 75 to 100,000 people, but a lot of those we've done multiple things with and helped them throughout. So we'll go as far as we can and reach as many as we can. So if people reach out to us with a specific need, we want to get involved.
Now, some of these families, as I mentioned, they've been out of their homes in the north, for example, for almost 8 months. What kinds of programs are you guys doing for the children who don't even know if they're going to be able to return to school in the fall?
That's one of the biggest problems that we have is we see these people and right now, a bunch of them, we were on a north somewhere, and they got a notice as we were there saying, you're not going back home till December 31st. And they're in these small hotel rooms and cramped with the family. And what we're finding is the people from up north are in hotels closer to the north. A lot of them that are not in Yerushalayim are isolated from everyone else. They really need the most help. And we're trying to do everything we can for them and just trying to make it so that when they're there, they're only seeing themselves and having coffee with the same people over and over, trying to bring new people to them. It's the volunteers that come that interact with them, talk with them, that want to continue that relationship after as well, that we find that super important, that it's not just, hey, we show up, we're doing an after-school party for you, but what can we do next month? What can we do the month after? What can we bring you that'll really make a difference in your life and make the kids have something to look forward to?
It's beautiful because you're building a relationship with these children, especially who are in need. How can our viewers help this initiative?
There's multiple ways. The first way we always say is get involved. And if you're in Israel, reach out to us. These opportunities that we're creating, it's as much for the kids as it is for the volunteers. People just, yes, everyone came here and it's like work the fields and we need help with this, we need help with that. But volunteering in Israel, there's so many opportunities now that came out of the war. Find something that you like and just run with it. You'll build that connection with the community. You'll want to do more for them and help them. So it's great to establish that initial connection and just get out there and meet people and talk to them. That's first. Secondly, obviously donating. And we don't just say, donate like, hey, just give us money. We want it to go towards something that we're very transparent in what carnivals we're doing and what types of events we're doing. And if you want to donate, message us as well. Say, I'd like this to go to a family from up north. I'd like this to go to kids that were displaced. I'd like this to go to kids who have a father in the army. So get involved that way. And the third and other way, which is super important to us, is if you have an idea of something to do, find an Israeli vendor that we can partner with to do it. It's not just about sending bags from America and things from America, which a lot of people are doing. And again, it's unbelievable what people are doing. If you're going to buy toys, there's people from Sderot and there's people in Jerusalem whose husband's in the army. They need the business too. Let us be your conduit to help you find vendors and small businesses in Israel that need that help as well. So we really look at all three parts of that triangle and try and put them together to maximize the benefit of every dollar that comes in.
Absolutely. Well, that's important work that you're doing. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, Aaron.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Let's take a look at the weather forecast. Partly cloudy skies are expected tonight around the country, with temperatures reaching lows of around 19 degrees Celsius or 67 degrees Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow, mostly clear skies are expected alongside warm temperatures set to reach highs of around 29 degrees Celsius or 87 degrees Fahrenheit. That's all for today's news. For more updates from Israel on all your devices, check out our ILTV channels, subscribe to our ILTV newsletter, and don't forget to check out our website, iltv.tv, with all the latest news from the heart of the State of Israel. I'm Emily Schrader. Be well, and thank you so much for watching.